Ya estamos en vivo. Buenos días, buenas tardes o buenas noches, dependiendo cuando estén viendo este live stream. I'm going to switch to English now. Today we have a special guest. For those who, hopefully you guys know him. Vala Afshar. He's a chief digital advantage from Salesforce. This is the first time that I have a live stream with him because usually we meet for coffee or a beer or some type of a dinner in Dreamforce or Connections or the Constellation Research events somewhere. I think last time we met was in Atlanta last year, and prior to that, somewhere in San Francisco. And yesterday, we were prepping for the meeting. I was mentioning Vala, that I really miss, those conversations with him. Because everybody's after him. Somewhere somebody wants to talk to him, and having, a sit down or a really nice, cup of coffee with Vala is precious. It's really good. Vala, thank you for being here. I know you've been all day in front of a customer, in front of the computer, and you just got off from another show. So I really appreciate you, being here with me, having coffee.
My friend, it's always a privilege when I have a chance to connect with you because you're one of those incredible individuals that help expand my mind every time we engage. So I appreciate your wisdom and your friendship.
Thank you, Lau. Actually, I know you before Salesforce.
Yes, absolutely.
Before
yes.
Salesforce,
There was a life for me before Salesforce. You're one of the top analysts in the world. So when I would attend conferences trying to understand as a practitioner, as a chief customer, chief marketing officer, where do I spend my money, my company's money on technology and software, I would be listening to you and some of your colleagues guiding my business. And so I've been a student of yours for many, many years.
No, perfect. Actually, it's the other way around because sometimes, when I bring customers, to the conference, he said, you guys need to talk to that guy over there. You see him, follow me. We got to run. We got to sit down with Vala, And Vala, all the time, takes time to sit down and have a conversation, So that's good. Well, a couple of disclaimers. The first one, we're going to talk about coffee, for 5 minutes. And second, Vala won't talk about Salesforce, okay? So we're going to talk about, industries, and we're going to talk about the new normal and the trends. And within a month or so, I'm going to have the VP of marketing from Salesforce Latin America, okay? And he is going to talk about Salesforce, okay?
And so we can be flexible. It's up to you. We can go wherever you want the conversation to go.
But that's the whole. And I know, you guys, yesterday, you make the announcement of your new CDP, and that's another conversation that I'm going to have with with my audience because I'm talking to your CDP guy very soon to understand all the CDP stuff. So first of all, I know you have your Constellation Research cup. I actually one of my solo Tomando Café that I have because. At that moment, somebody canceled and I had to go live. I have that cup that they put together that you brew the coffee and everything.
Yes.
I gotta look like this. I need I need an ecosystem to understand how to use it. So what coffee do you drink? Black or white, Dunkin' Donuts?
So I'm based in Boston, Massachusetts. So northeast of U.S. And if you're, a Boston citizen, just about every quarter mile, probably 3 football pitch, you're going to find a Dunkin' Donuts. And to be honest, to the left or right of a Dunkin' Donuts might be a Starbucks. But this is definitely Dunk's country. And so my morning routine starts with a large, and it's large, not venti. Dunkin's, they don't have any creative words to describe sizes. It's just large, medium, small. A large cup of coffee When it's Halloween season, I like pumpkin flavored coffee. Sometimes I find myself substituting for sugar, using maybe 1 pump of vanilla, 1 pump of caramel, or my favorite is the pumpkin spice pump. So, and there's plenty of sugar in those pumps. Normally, a large cup is probably 4 pumps of a flavored syrup. I usually just get 1 pump because I want a little bit of a flavor. And then I add cream. And I thought as I got older, because my grandparents and my parents, they're black coffee drinkers, that I would eventually be black coffee. But no, I still have cream in my coffee. So sweet and flavored. If I feel adventurous, maybe I'll get a latte, a hot latte. It's funny, even during the summer, I get hot coffee. There are times where I'll get a nice coffee, but for the most part, I like my coffee hot. And I'm probably consuming 2 large cups a day, certainly 1 in the morning and 1 maybe through the afternoon, evening. So yeah, I drink a lot of coffee.
I definitely drink a lot of coffee. I used to be, what we call, being Hispanic from Puerto Rico, café con leche, which is you heat up, the milk. The milk has to be hot, and the coffee needs to be hot as well, and you put it together. There's no cream or half and half. That doesn't exist. I mean, if I say that I want cream half and half, they look really bad in my family. So, what?
I don't know why the U.S. doesn't have that practice of hot coffee or cream. The last time I traveled pre-pandemic, I was in Madrid. And in Madrid, actually anywhere in Europe really, but certainly in Madrid and Barcelona, as Gartner Symposium, the coffee is with hot milk. And I love that because, unfortunately, when you add the cold cream or milk, the coffee is less hot. And I like mine hot. So yeah, I agree with you. That's the right way of consuming coffee.
Yeah, and I go to Dunkin' Donuts because of the donuts, not because of the coffee. So every time that we do road trips, we like to do road trips here in the States. We always look where they have, Dunkin' Donuts. Oh, here's the coffee. And of course, I go to Starbucks because of the Wi-Fi, and I drink their coffee. So I have my own cup, given to my to me. My daughter gave it to me. And they have me here, flying. When I fly, there's a plane over there, mountain biking, hiking, so, I used to have a Jeep,
I have a Jeep. Yeah.
That's a long story, but my wife sold my Jeep.
All right.
And this
hopefully it was to trade it in for a fancy convertible sports car, because I love my Jeep. No doors, no top. It's a Jeep Wrangler. I have 35-inch tires, so it's a lifted Jeep with a hoist in the front, lights everywhere. It's a mean looking, beautiful Jeep.
So I have to visit you up in Boston, man, because every time that I look at to a Jeep, I say don't even think about it, So I had it for 10 years. It was a Jeep Commander. We do kayaking, we do mountain biking, all that stuff, Nice. So, being Puerto Rican, and today I have a baseball theme today. I'm wearing my Marlins shirt. So my daughter said that I look like a candy cane today because of the colors. But, I'm drinking, I don't know, Pudge,
I don't.
He's a catcher. He used to play for, I think he was with Boston for a while. New York, Texas, Marlins. Sure. He won the World Series with the Marlins. So, he doesn't need any promo from me, but that's the coffee that I'm drinking today. So 100% Puerto Rican coffee. So that's what we have.
You're a
CRM, when everything was client server. Okay, I was doing a lot of CIVA, and CIVA back then it was, very, industry based, sure. and in Latin America, And then, that industry focus sort of disappeared. And then, Salesforce came in, and let's go to the cloud, and we started with sales, and then, service, now marketing, and we know the rest of the story, But now there's a big push, all the vendors, especially you guys, to go industry. And Salesforce has made a bunch of acquisitions, and I've been through all of them. being as well in my other company, service, implementing and putting, Salesforce ecosystem together. And now there's this big push, to go industry, and that's the next wave. We have the fourth generation, and we're seeing that that's something that we definitely need. Why that push out there in the industry? What that particular trend to move into the industry? I'm not talking, service and sales, specific for the industry. I'm talking the whole ecosystem, the whole end-to-end, from you are a visitor on your web page all the way down to you provision and you continue, loyalty, you continue, the whole engagement, with the customer. Why now the trend? Are we really mature, in terms of being in the cloud? Because I'm still amazed. Okay, during the pandemic, people are still trying to figure out how to move to the cloud. And there's whatever, the cloud is a blue ocean because, I don't know the numbers, but it's not like you have more than 50% of companies in the cloud. There's, there's less than that. How do you see that today?
Well, I think the pandemic, what we've experienced in the last 15 months, was the most significant accelerant for business and digital business transformation, which would include technologies like the cloud. In a light switch, in March of last year, companies had to have their employees work from home. It literally a light switch event. So speed of transitioning to this decentralized, digital-only world is what helped define relevance. And so some companies spent months trying to stabilize their business. Some, in fact, went out of business because they couldn't, in terms of speed to this transition, how quickly they could transition. And if you are an athlete, we talked about baseball. If you're a business person, if you truly understand the dynamics of speed, you recognize that optimal speed is only achieved when you design for movement. When you design for movement. If you're not designed for movement, you can't get to the top speed. For example, when you look at the 4x100 relay runners, the first leg of the race is sometimes, this is at the elite level, 1.5 seconds longer than second, third, and fourth leg, because the runner starts at a static position for the first leg. You hear the gun shoot, and then you start running. The second and third and fourth, they're actually running in motion before the baton is handed to them. And that 1.5 seconds, an elite runner is from like first place to 100th place, last place. So that's an example of when you're in motion, when you're moving already, it's easier to achieve faster speed. So when people would come to me and say, how did Salesforce move 55,000 employees to work from home over a weekend in a couple of days? I would say, well, for 20 years, we've been designing our company for movement. Being a cloud-first company helps you with movement, because as long as you have access to the internet, you have access to our business applications. As long as every employee has one of these or a laptop and securely installs business applications, ERP, CRM, whatever, human capital management, whatever it may be, as long as you have business applications on smart devices with secure internet access, work is not a place. Work is outcomes. And for those of us like you and I who are very fortunate to not have physical dependency in terms of how we do our job, we should have the autonomy, the freedom to contribute to our stakeholders wherever we are. So that's an example of design for movement. And I think the pandemic really made business leaders understand that when you invest in cloud technologies, data visualization technologies, mobility of applications, that's how you design for movement. That's how you achieve optimal speed. And why is speed important? Because When you have a health crisis, an economic crisis, racial crisis, climate crisis, lack of trust because large dissemination of misinformation crisis, what people are looking for in their lives and work is to partner with individuals and companies that can deliver value at the speed of need. Value at the speed of need. And the pandemic showed that, safety was a need. So if you didn't have e-commerce for your business, I'm certainly not going to go in person at the height of the pandemic into your store and buy your goods and services. If you didn't have online payments, if you didn't have order online curbside pickup, if you didn't have, we saw e-commerce growth 10 years just between April and June of last year. In 3 months, e-commerce grew 10 years in North America. So my long-winded answer to your question, and I haven't got to it yet, why industries? Well, industries, or precision delivery of value at the speed of need, means that a vendor, a company, has to understand very specifically your landscape, which unfortunately today consists of, as you said, on-premise legacy solutions, which is technical debt that's going to prevent you to achieve optimal speed. It's going to prevent you for design for movement, but it's there. You have to recognize that, yes, if I was going to start a company tomorrow, I'm going all cloud. Everything is in the cloud. I'm going, I'm investing it could be Amazon, it could be Microsoft, it could be Google. The big cloud providers where I don't have to worry about scale. I don't have to worry about security. I'm designing for movement with robustness in mind. And generally what we found in the last 5 to 10 years is that business transformation is hard. And digital transformation is not just about modernizing legacy processes. It's not just adding new software to an existing process. That's not how you achieve personalization, speed, intelligence, scale. So when we talk about business transformation, we're talking across so many dimensions. There's process reinvention. There is stakeholder relationship transformation, how you engage with employees and your customers and your partners and your communities. It's how you share business insights. Our acquisition of Tableau is we recognize when you democratize data, you give everyone the right to improve decision velocity, everyone the right to make faster actions that add value to stakeholders. So there's insights transformation. There's new products and services. So it's not just modernizing processes, but you're going to bring products and services to market with digital underpinnings. And the last thing, which is probably the most important thing, I just mentioned 4 dimensions of digital transformation. The 5th is new business model innovation. It's the ability for you to create new revenue streams by creating new creative ways to add value to your stakeholders. When you think about new processes, new products, new insights, new relationship, new business models, and you realize that every industry has a different path in terms of how they achieve transformation across 5 different dimensions, when you realize the average enterprise has 800 applications, an average medium to large size enterprise has 800 business applications, that's Salesforce research, and only 29% of those applications are integrated. 7 out of 10 applications are in silos. That's not how you design for movement. That's not how you're going to achieve speed. That's not how you're going to achieve personalization. So the reason companies need to think about industries is unless you speak the language of your customer, unless you understand what are those legacy applications that are there that need to get integrated into a multi-cloud infrastructure, until you realize it's not about orchestration per se and command and control, it's about movement and flow. You really can't do that without the proper culture, the proper talent, the proper processes, the proper strategy and the process, and the proper technology. And what retail needs is different than what financial versus government versus higher ed versus, we serve about 15 industries at Salesforce. And so to answer your question, how do you deliver value at the speed of need? You need to have templates. You need to have pre-built ways of enabling web page layouts or pre-built portals or mobile applications. You need to work with DevOps, developers. You need to give them kits. You need to give them tools. So you've got templates, you have tools, and you need to also guide them, education. The reason why your clients love you, and I've actually spoke to your clients, and they say they view you as an educator. You're not there to sell them software. You're there to teach them and inspire them and guide them across those 5 dimensions. And depending on what industry, the last time you introduced me was in the hospitality industry. So the largest hospitality player in Mexico. And then that same day, and I think this was at CRM Evolution Conference in Washington, D.C. or New York. I'm not sure the location. At the same day,
you have a really good memory, man.
Yeah. But that same day, you introduced me to a financial player. So you would talk about hospitality and you talk about finance, and so they have different needs. Now, when you draw a Venn diagram, certainly the need for visualization, integration, mobility, connectivity, ecosystem, platform. There's common things that they all need to focus on, but they all have their own industry-specific apps. They all have their own industry-specific governance. Is it HIPAA compliance in higher ed? Is it FIPS compliant in government? Is it PIP in retail? So sorry for the long-winded answer to your question, but industries, in my opinion, is the mindset, the philosophy, the processes, the tools, and the expertise you need to help companies deliver value at the speed of need. And it has to be personalized. And I think that's the driving function. And as society becomes more decentralized, more digital, more autonomous, businesses start looking like living organisms. I actually think the way our bodies work, because when I think of automation and autonomy, I think of us, our bodies. We have a circulatory system. That circulatory system is what keeps us alive. So we have our lungs that bring oxygen into our body. That's our pulmonary system. We have our heart between 60 to 80 beats a minute, which is, getting that oxygen and putting nutrition in our blood system. That's our cardiovascular system. And then we have our arteries for oxygenated blood and veins for deoxygenated blood. That's the systemic system. So the pulmonary, cardiovascular, and systemic makes our circulatory system. And it's the most automated, autonomous system that I can think of. It just works. And when I think of the heart and the lung, to me, they're like pumps. They're pumps, pumping oxygen, pumping blood. Departments in business are pumps. Marketing, sales, service, IT, commerce. We capture information, we analyze the information, and we pump out what we think is useful content for the body, the business, the partners, the customers, so they can grow and thrive. The more and more we bring AI, blockchain, immersive technologies, AR, VR, quantum computing, businesses are going to start resembling living organisms. And that level of autonomy and automation requires precision thinking. And this is why I think industries will be a very powerful role in terms of how you build products and service markets, because more and more companies are going to be like an autonomous vehicle. An autonomous vehicle to me is the closest man-made invention to our human body. You have a sensing logic, analysis logic, decision-making logic, and actuation logic. Go left, go right, go forward, go backwards. That's the actuation logic. If you study the Tesla vehicle, there's 4 building blocks. Think about real-time decision-making. So you and I go in a car today. Our number one job, only job, is to drive the car. That's all we have to do. That's our job. 10 years from now, when you go into a car, you speak to where you want to go and it takes you there. So now your job, you could be a business person, you could be binge watching Netflix, you could be reading books, you could be listening to music, you could take a nap. So the relationship goes from 100% driver to all sorts of different things that we could be doing. All the logic you see in an autonomous vehicle is ultimately going to shape the autonomous enterprise. Today, my email recommends, as I'm typing, it's recommending the sentence for me. My calendar is synced to my email, it's synced to my Waze app. So all of these things are happening in front of us, but it's happening slow enough that we don't necessarily recognize it. Industry planning, training, implementation, optimization is the only way for us to build that autonomous vehicle, living organism skill set inside healthcare, government, higher ed, banking, retail, finance. It's really about speed, precision, and scale. Sorry, I'm giving you such a long answer, and I'm going to stop talking. I just realized I'm just talking. Sorry.
No, that's fine. And this is what I enjoyed. Talking to you and listening to you. A disclaimer: we have our good friend Esteban Koski already throwing out some messages out there. Yeah, so I will start displaying them very soon. But
He's a smart dude.
Yeah, I know.
You and I, we've learned quite a bit from him.
He's already, I don't know if he's spamming or saying serious stuff, because we always, you know that we always have the Esteban disclaimer. So, but let me go back here to what you said about momentum and speed. Okay, and the industry and the templates, because one of the things is, and the new business model, because I think, for me, momentum and speed is that you always need to be running. You always to be
movement. Movement is life.
It's life.
Movement is life. Yes.
And what I mean by that is that you always need to be learning and learning, during that process. Now, if you just go on,
Can I just add one thing you just said?
Yeah.
You said learning and relearning. In between that is unlearning. You really have to unlearn in order to learn the new. And I just want to let you know, when 90% of people that go through open heart surgery, this is a life and death event for them. Life and death event, open heart surgery. 90% of people that go through open heart surgery do not change their life habits. They maintain the same diet, the same exercise, the same sleep patterns. Only 10% can develop new habits so that they can avoid another open heart surgery. It is very difficult for us human beings to unlearn. And part of what business leaders need to do is to unlearn some of the successes they've had that helped them get to where they are now in order to adapt for the new normal. And I think it's super difficult. And I think the reason why half of big businesses have disappeared in the last 2 decades, 52% of Fortune 500 since 2000, is because we as business leaders really didn't have the ability to unlearn and relearn the new. And if you can do that and change yourself, that's a superpower. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Unlearn.
Well, but that's fine, because that goes to what I want to mention. Because if you're going through that, learning and relearning, and you're gonna buy Salesforce, and you're gonna get the industry templates and package, and you only do that, you're still missing the boat, because you have to do that in order to innovate, in order to create new business models. Because for what I'm learning, from my customers and research I'm doing in Latin America, you have to bring 2 things into this new business model while you're learning and relearning. Is that you need to bring all these fintech technologies, and you need to bring a new business model that you're going to get closer to the customer. Okay, with all the technology you mentioned, AR, AI,
sure.
All that, everything in the cloud, all that, always on, something anywhere, but you need to get closer to the customer. And if you're in industry that you say, I'm going to replace my legacy systems with Salesforce industry, whatever that industry that you're in, that won't be enough, because you have to be able to change your business model. You need to be able to see the future, and be ahead of the game in order to maximize all these cloud technologies. Because if you don't change your business model, you can be implemented, Salesforce with industry, but if you're not in that constant change,
right,
it's like being legacy,
right,
because you got to be in that movement from that process. And that takes me to the next question. How do you see all this new normal? How do you see all this constant change? And let me put this in perspective. I met this fellow Puerto Rican. He's in Seattle. He has a restaurant, and he made the decision, 30 days after the pandemic, a year ago, I'm going to shut down my restaurant. I'm going to become I'm going to get closer to the customer. I'm going to go to where my customers are. And he changed his whole business model.
Food truck,
pantries, Zoom sessions, I teach you how to cook. I bring you the food to your house. I bring you the ingredients to your house. It changed the whole structure. It's a God kitchen, all the above. He has a menu of everything.
Yeah.
And he has his own delivery app. He has his Uber Eats. He's using, everything else out there. And he's not being easy, you know?
Sure.
But I saw that he changed that model.
Sure.
Now he's telling people, come over here and eat, but it's not that he's going to have the restaurant full. But the traditional way of doing business, he noticed ahead of time, I need to change this right now.
Yeah.
So with the new normal and having everything in the cloud per industry, how do you see the market? Are we seeing people really changing what they have, or they're really moving to new business models?
No. I think we spent most of last year just stabilizing the business and reopening business. I don't think for the vast majority, I don't think we're experiencing, new innovation that will fuel hyper growth in this new construct. The biggest blind spot I think we as business leaders had is we didn't appreciate the power of decentralization as much as.
Could you explain that? Because we use it so much out there. So what that really means?
Well, it's the simple fact that 55,000 employees at my company that used to go into an office. It was an office in San Francisco. We have an office in Boston, and now for the last 14 months, 99% work from home. That entire work model went from centers to homes. So that's an example of a cultural phenomena that was decentralization from work from anywhere, work from home. You look at, and regardless of what Elon Musk said this week, you look at store of value in how software created money. 10 years ago, some mysterious individual talked about blockchains and distributed ledgers and Bitcoin. And now there's 100 coins with over $1 billion market value. The number one, obviously, is the one I think most people know, Bitcoin. That's $1.1 trillion market value. This is an example of distributed finance, distributed currency. So a shift from fiat currency to a decentralized construct in terms of how we measure value and how we give access. And to me, when you talk about movement and speed and ease of use, the number one app downloaded on the Apple App Store is Coinbase. Coinbase is a 9-year-old company with 60 billion market cap, maybe a little less. I don't know, their stock has fluctuated. But bottom line, it's massively first ever public exchange. You could click a button and you buy. It's the most seamless app you could imagine. And you can exchange coins, you can buy, sell, you can stake, you can get annual returns. I don't mean to make this sound like a commercial for crypto, but to me, that's a perfect example of distributed finance, distributed wealth. This is an asset that's grown 200% year over year for the last decade, 800% last year. And we're only in the first inning, because the real power, in my opinion, is smart contracts powered by technology and coins like Ethereum and Ether. And when you see this NFT, non-fungible token phenomena, where creators are using digital assets and managing intellectual property and adding value-added services to these smart contracts, to me, what's happening in blockchain, NFT, crypto is massively disruptive and relevant to every company, every industry, every geography, because it's all about movement. It's all about reduced friction. So my advice is, if you want to learn about decentralization concepts, start learning a little about distributed finance and crypto and blockchain, and not just blockchain in finance. Again, Bitcoin is the most successful use of blockchain, but there's so many use cases within industries, within manufacturing, within retail. And to me, it's like the best place to go to appreciate what the world will look like in a decade. The train towards decentralized, digital-only world is an inevitability, in my humble opinion. I'm not a futurist, so I don't mean to talk about, you've got more, you have smarter, more well-accomplished people that can speak to the future. So I apologize if I'm talking about stuff that may not feel real or sci-fi now.
But that's very key because, to put this in perspective in Latin America, looking at what's happening in Brazil, what's happening in Mexico, with all these new unicorns that we're having in the region, that all of them, have the two common factors that I see. They're bringing fintech technologies.
Yeah.
Okay. So they're avoiding the banks. Okay. Open banking, technology, which is decentralized. Okay. Then they're bringing, the concept of becoming closer to the customer. I'm going to deliver the food to you. I'm going to deliver, the meal to you. I'm going to deliver the used car to you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna bring closer the real estate to you. So
remove friction.
So that's all that is happening, actively in Latin America, and it's moving relatively fast. There's been, millions and billions of dollars, invested VC money, pouring into Latin America, into those unicorns that have those two big components. And that's because it's all decentralized. So and that goes back to the questions about the new normal. We know the basic stuff of the new normal, and there's a laundry list out there. You have white papers, I have a white paper. There's a bunch of stuff out there that makes common sense. But I think the bottom line of this new normal is decentralization. We have to go back to that somehow in putting on those business model.
Yeah, it was Jeff Bezos who said, I'm often asked, because I have a growing successful company, what the world is going to look like 10 years from now. What's going to change 10 years from now? And he said, the better question that should be asked is, what's not going to change 10 years from now? People still want the most value. People want the fastest, most convenient transactions. They want meaningful engagements. So he said, we work backwards as we design for innovation at Amazon, working backwards, meaning from our customers' need to, you can't pitch a new product or a new feature at Amazon without an 8 to 10 page memorandum that speaks to customer needs and works backwards. It's the format is written like a press release. There's embedded FAQs. They don't use PowerPoints or presentations to pitch ideas. They actually have to write, what would be like a peer-reviewed paper that you and I did in college with justification. But it's always working backwards. And so this mindset of understanding the certain core guiding principles that are relevant a decade from now, like autonomy, like frictionless process, like fastest path to value, most return on investment. You have to constantly be thinking about things that will stay true, whether it's us defining where we're going to invest in technology or our children. So I think that's an important lesson is, yes, it's important to know what's going to change, but also important to know what are some of the core values and guiding principles that will be, here 10 years from now, 20 years from now, and so on and so forth.
So let me ask you the last question here, regarding, trends. I know we talk about decentralization, Bitcoin,
I never thought I was going to bring Bitcoin in our conversation. So
no, that's fine. That's okay. And it's,
in a down market. By the way, none of this is financial advice. Let me just say, when I mention these, I'm not telling you to do anything. Just
and
read about it.
And there's a climate issue, around Bitcoin as well. That
I certainly found that out this week. Yes.
This week. So do a Google, you will know.
Yeah, but buy the dip. That issue actually was very advantageous for people that are in the game. People that are in the game love this week, to be honest with you. But anyway, go ahead. Yeah.
So as I relate, to Salesforce,
yes.
What do you see? What do you see that would be the big trend that we need to go after? And you have industries. You have now the CDP. You have made a bunch of acquisitions. Customer 360. But if you see, say for 5 years from now, interest not as a product, but as a trend out there, and I know, last year you guys were quickly to come up with work.com, the vaccine cloud, all that stuff. it's still speed, it's still the movement, it's a particular technology, are we still when we're talking cloud in 3 or 5 years?
Oh yeah, yeah. Don't bet against the cloud. That's like betting against the internet. Don't. If there's one advice I give to business leaders, do not bet against the internet.
I know, but the reason I say that because I do remember the early days of Salesforce. You guys were talking cloud.
Yeah.
And now, we talk cloud, but we talk about other stuff.
Sure.
Talk, customer centric, digital transformation.
Sure.
It's the message is evolving every day.
So I think that this my company and I became Salesforce customers in 2003. So we brought Salesforce into my business when the company was only 4 years old. The company was founded March 8th, 1999. In 4 years, I invited Salesforce to help us with Sales Cloud and Service Cloud. And Service Cloud, believe me, it was in infancy stage, but you had cases and records. I had enough to build a CRM when they were a 4-year company. And my company was a 400 million annual revenue, 2,000 person company. So for 12 years, I was a customer, practitioner, and in the last 5 years as a customer. So 17 of the 21 years I've been associated with this company, 17 of the 21 years. What I can say is consistent in terms of what motivates and drives our development practice and our innovation practice is our core values, The first core value at the company is trust. And by the way, we have debates, spirited debates every year in terms of what should be the core value and what's the order. And the debates start with Mark and Parker, our co-founders, Mark Benioff, Parker Harris, and every employee has an opportunity to weigh in on the core values. So when I joined, we had a different set of core values, not all different. I think equality was added to our core values in the 5-year tenure that I've been with Salesforce. So number 1 is trust. Now, number 2 is customer success. Number 3 is innovation. Number 4 is equality. Those are our 4 core values. 55,000 employees all know the core values because we develop our roadmap for how we're going to contribute to the business based on those core values. So I'll start with trust. Definition of trust. My definition of trust, and I see how this definition is consistently used with some of my peers. Trust, and this was a definition that Rachel Botsman, who lectures at Oxford, defined trust. She wrote a book, Who Do You Trust? And it's my favorite definition of trust. It says trust is competence plus character. Competence plus character. And she took competence and broke it into 2 parts. It's your capability and your reliability. You have to be reliable and capable to have full competence in terms of the trust equation. Character, she said, it's integrity plus benevolence. I love the word benevolence. Benevolence is, what are you motivated by? Are you motivated by helping your stakeholders? Are you motivated by growing revenue and shareholders? What motivates you? Because there's a fine line between motivating and manipulating, and that's inspiring and manipulating, and that's your motivation. So to answer your question, where do I see Salesforce going? We will continue to build or buy or invest. When I say invest, like Salesforce Ventures is only second to Google Ventures in terms of investing in startups. I think we're at a cadence of where we invest in a new startup once a week. So that's how active we are investing in innovation. And of course, acquisitions. I've been with the company 5 years. I think we've had north of 30 some odd acquisitions, in the billions of tens of billions. I think it's probably north of 60 billion in terms of acquisition just in the last 5 years. So anybody who read the book, Innovator's Dilemma by Professor Clay Christensen understands to compete in a hyper-connected knowledge sharing economy, you need to have a hybrid model, inorganic and organic development mindset, because that's the only way you're going to be able to keep up with the velocity of innovation, speed and direction. So how do you show trust? How do you show capability, reliability, integrity? The way you do that is you build products and services that add value and add value right now. So you mentioned work.com. If you talk to a Salesforce person January of 2020, and you talked about, manual contact tracing, automated contact tracing, nobody would know anything. I shouldn't say we have doctors that work at Salesforce. Maybe they would know. But I can tell you, Chief Digital Evangelist, at Salesforce had very little to zero knowledge of contact tracing in January of 2020. So we went from understanding what every business needed. How do you safely engage with your stakeholders, especially if you're going to reopen? What type of technology do you need? How do you leverage data? And so in March, we started talking about a need for that technology. By July, we generally available work.com, which now tens of thousands of customers use. That's speed to value. That's understanding for us to show competence, for us to show reliability, for us to show integrity, knowing safety is now a brand pillar. This is the technology we need to bring to market. That's how our customers can be successful. So I know it's maybe cliche to say your culture guides your thinking and your doing, but it really does. If your core values are trust, customer success, and innovation, those are the three. And equality, knowing that many underserved communities, many businesses don't have necessarily the infrastructure and technology to help create a safe environment. That's why we made a lot of our solutions for free for the first 120 days of the pandemic between April and July. And we special packaged, special bundled, really created affordable solutions that typically would not be our pricing model, but we knew values create value and business is the greatest platform for change. To answer your question, our core values determine what we build and bring to market. It's not chasing shiny new buzzword technology. Now, it may be that shiny, buzzy new technology is what we end up building, but it's really driven and guided by our core values. And I think that's what makes the company pretty special. I don't think you can have the growth trajectory that Salesforce has had over the last 20 years if it wasn't a company that demonstrated year after year after year that values really do create value. So that's my point. And that's my view in terms of what guides our development processes and innovation processes.
So saying that, because I know we have probably like another 5 minutes or so, because we need to do this under 1 hour because I need to upload this to
yeah, you have speed requirements.
To Instagram, and then this will be, on my podcast channels.
Yes.
To summarize this, I mean, which is, it's very interesting. I mean, we can be here with you forever, talking about this, but they begin with, you need to be sure that you have that momentum, that speed,
always moving.
Yeah, always moving. And then, definitely, if you're specific, in the cloud for a particular industry, you need to be sure that you're adding value to the customer with new business models. And it needs to be somehow decentralized, and we talk about that in Bitcoin.
Yeah, well, maybe a better example for me when I say decentralized is think of ecosystem. Think of ecosystem and think of ecosystem of ecosystems. When you see 6,000 companies on the App Exchange building capabilities on the Salesforce platform, what has happened is we've decentralized and provided access to a platform that allows other businesses to scale and bring unique and new innovation and value proposition to ecosystem of ecosystems.
Well, I don't know, we didn't plan this, but I was about to say this because when I look at Salesforce, I don't see clouds. I see ecosystems.
Right.
I see customer engagement ecosystem.
Right.
And that's what I saw yesterday, when you deploy, make the announcement of CDP, Customer 360, I saw a bunch of tools that are going to be used to build the ecosystem. I'm not seeing clouds.
Right.
Okay. I'm going to write about that. I have a briefing soon. I'm going to write about that.
Perfect. I look forward to reading it.
But it's going to be in Spanish, but I can't do the translation. But the point of what I'm trying to get is that, if we're going to move to the cloud, if we're going to have to move quickly, fast, always running, always learning, unlearning, relearning, with all this template from the industry, you need to be sure that you're building ecosystems.
Yes.
That's the biggest thing. That for me is the biggest message. And that's why I wanted to summarize that into everything you mentioned. Because,
well done.
Because that's the goal. Build these ecosystems, and that's part of the challenge. That's part of the challenge for Salesforce. That's part of the challenge for the customers, for the industry. For us. At the same time, because think about it. When we're using Android and iPhone, we have ecosystems.
Right.
Decentralized ecosystems. And we have to think about that. And that will be my takeaway, and companies need to start thinking about that. And that's for me at the very end, digital transformation. That's for me at the very end, be customer centric. That's for me at the very end, having a strategy and technology working together. That's, you got to put together this ecosystem. So saying that, Vala, tell us a little bit more about where people can find you. I know you have the other show, you're everywhere. So if people want to know more about you, they want to listen more about you, where do they need to go?
By the way, thank you. So this is why you're a world-renowned analyst. You can hear me continuously talk about something and then beautifully package that in something that I could tweet, 280 characters. So that's your superpower, is to take something complex and turn it into something simple and intuitive. So I appreciate your summary and your takeaway of our conversation. I write weekly for ZDNet. Since March of last year, I have probably written 150, 160 articles. So I write fairly regularly on ZDNet. So you can certainly learn about the importance of movement and design thinking principles based on flow and ecosystem building and decentralization. In fact, my last article was I interviewed the CEO of MicroStrategy, Michael Saylor, who has
Bitcoin too.
$6 billion of Bitcoin on his balance sheet. 95% of MicroStrategy's balance sheet is on Bitcoin. But it wasn't a discussion about Bitcoin. It was a discussion about decentralization, as an example. So that's my last article. So ZDNet, I live on Twitter. Twitter is my digital diary. So anytime I learn something, I think it's valuable, I put it on Twitter. I'm active on LinkedIn as well. I think you can find just about everything, including my mobile cell number, if you just Google Vala. So I'm very accessible, and I look forward to connecting with your audience and learning from you. That's the most wonderful thing about folks like you, folks like Esteban, and I was just with Ray Wong. Wisdom is knowing that everyone you meet knows more about something than you do. And we have an incredible group of generous, knowledgeable people that are volunteering their time, hoping to teach and be taught. And you are a role model in that community. So I look forward to connecting with your audience and learning from them.
Perfect. I appreciate your time. And something very key, every time that we meet in these events, we always meet 1 or 3 times. And I know the last time, not last time, but I think it was in Connections. You guys
Atlanta.
were in Chicago.
Yes, Chicago.
You guys were on the way out to have dinner. He said, "Come join us." And Esteban, we needed to do one of these shows back then, and then we're at the Marriott, munchings and drinking beer here and there, and then you guys came back. Charlie Isaac was there. Everybody. So it's all good. So I enjoyed those times. Together.
I miss it. Yeah. I look forward to it.
Yeah. So, Vala, thank you so much. You guys know already where you can follow him. Within a month or so, I'm gonna have the VP of Marketing from Salesforce Latin America, and hopefully we're gonna be doing this in Portuguese or Spanish, of Portuñol, discussing the stuff dedicated to Salesforce in Latin America. So thank you, Vala, to joining today. And este ha sido Jesús Hoyos de CRM en Latinoamérica con Vala, Chief Digital Evangelist de Salesforce. Ya saben, esto está pues en LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram y los canales de podcast. See you next time. Vala, thank you so much. Until next time.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
Thank you.